したい大事そうに抱えた私を全部君がこの孤独を痛みを癒すの消えてしまいたい眠らない街のざわめき
Hello and welcome to episode 229 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans' weekly podcast of many topics, although I did miss a week last month and the previous month, so I'm just a podcaster full of lies in 2020. But what isn't a lie is that this is episode 229, all about Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the Wii U RPG that recently got a Switch port, which I'm experiencing for the first time. But joining me on this episode is someone who is not experiencing the game for the first time, Nathan Lee.
Hello, everyone.
Now, Nathan, we've had the idea of a Tokyo Mirage Sessions podcast in our big Google Doc in the sky for a little while, and you are one of the big proponents of this game on RPG Fan. This is you're a big fan of TMS, Effie. Am I right in saying that?
Oh yes.
Okay. I already knew the answer to that one, but I had to ask anyway. This is a 2015 Wii U game that was released worldwide in 2016, and it's one of the stranger origin stories of an RPG that I've seen in the past decade. So I'm going to go a little bit into the background of this game, Nathan, and please chime in or correct me if I miss any important detail.
Sure.
Nintendo got the idea of having a Fire Emblem crossover, RPG crossover, a while ago, maybe 10 years ago, early 2010s. And they eventually landed on the idea of maybe crossing over Fire Emblem with one of Atlus's games, either Shin Megami Tensei or Persona. And they pitched it to Atlus, and Atlus agreed after thinking about it for several months or maybe even a year. And so with a general pitch idea of Shin Megami Tensei cross Fire Emblem, they teased that in a single image in January 2013 in a Nintendo Direct. And this got the Twitterverse really abuzz. Or I should say the communities for both Fire Emblem and SMT really, really intrigued. Because these are two fandoms with some really, really dedicated, passionate fans. And this was in the wake of Fire Emblem Awakening coming out, which was an extremely popular Fire Emblem game that maybe reignited the fan base a little bit. And I think this was also pretty close to the release date of Shin Megami Tensei 4. So there was a lot of Nintendo buzz around both of those series at the time of this Nintendo Direct in 2013. And then there's radio silence for over 2 years, or maybe a little less than 2 years.
It's over 2 years.
It was over 2 years, yeah. 'Cause, okay, I know it got revealed in I think another Nintendo Direct, and either late in I guess it was 2015, and then was eventually released in late 2015 in Japan, like at the very end of the year, with a worldwide release about 6 months later. So, now Nathan, you probably follow this a little bit more closely than I did, because I remember some of the fan reaction, but I'm not that deep into I don't have my finger on the pulse of what Fire Emblem fans think, and you are also a huge Fire Emblem fan. So, what do you think was the fan expectation of this game, say before the big reveal in 2015, and what was the reaction after? Because that's one fascinating thing about this game that I wouldn't mind exploring.
So, when it comes to Fire Emblem, because I can't really speak too much for SMT. So for Fire Emblem, we were kind of expecting like a lot more of like a general crossover series, like involving a lot more characters. And I'm trying to think of other games that might come out on time. Maybe something like Project Cross Zone, where it's like that kind of like grid-based strategy with like teams of Fire Emblem characters teaming up with SMT characters, perhaps.
Yeah, the Cross Zone is one of the Capcom / Namco crossovers. They've done a couple of those.
Yeah. So I think that's what the general expectation was, or like the people just wanted to see like how the two universe can come together with like involving these different characters all together. So I think when the game was revealed, I don't think it immediately went against what people had thought it was going to be.
Right, and the SMT fandom, which I guess I follow a little bit more closely than that of Fire Emblem, was really confused because This game is developed by Atlus. It is which are developers of Shin Megami Tensei and Persona and a lot of other games, but sort of the fandom there is not divided, but it's factioned a little bit. Some of the more hardcore fans long for the days of high difficulty punishing demon summoning Shin Megami Tensei main series games, and some fans have not moved on, but some fans gravitate more closely to the sort of the stylish, angsty, less hardcore Persona games. And then to say that Persona games aren't hardcore is a misnomer. But there are SMT fans that disdain Persona, and Persona fans that disdain SMT. And for a game to be called SMT Cross Fire Emblem, and to be eventually revealed as a candy-colored Japanese pop idol themed turn-based RPG with some Fire Emblem iconography and imagery, but mostly playing like a Persona game, some of the fans got upset. I remember on the RPG fan forums, there was a bit of an outcry from people hoping this was going to be an SMT game where you recruit Fire Emblem heroes instead of monsters. But what ended up being something much different, and it's I want to avoid talking about Persona too much on this podcast, but Tokyo Mirage Sessions really is about 80% of the way to being a Persona game, and that's not. I don't think that's the direction that every SMT fan or every Fire Emblem fan wanted. But what we ended up with was something that, even though it's again similar to Persona, a game that's quite unique in its style it has style and tonal similarities to Persona and other Atlus games, but the total package is pretty unique and interesting, and is why it became a bit of a cult hit in 2015 on the Wii U.
Yeah.
The Wii U was not a very popular Nintendo system. It sold about 15 or 16 million copies, which is around the same amount as the PlayStation Vita sold. But I sort of view that as the Wii U died so the Switch could live. The Wii U had some structural difficulties and some not very well communicated marketing stuff that made it sell not as strongly as the Wii. But the Wii U technology that made it to the Switch helped the Switch become the super platform it is right now. But as such, the Tokyo Mirage Sessions, sort of being stuck on an unpopular console, didn't get the full audience it could have gotten. And I think now it has a second life on the Switch and might be able to reach a larger audience. I never owned a Wii U, but I'm playing it on the Switch right now, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, have you played the Wii U and Switch versions? Because I know you reviewed the Switch version for the site.
Yeah, so I played the original Wii U version. I played it by myself a couple times, and then I also streamed it for our Twitch channel.
Oh, okay.
So I played the original Wii U game 3 times, and then this is my 4th time playing on Switch.
Oh, all right. So you've definitely put your paces here. Now, do you think that the Switch version is superior or basically the same, or would you urge people to still play it on Wii U?
The Switch version is definitely better. The loading screens is a lot faster. Like, I remember battles used to take like at least 5 seconds to load. Like, sometimes areas would take like 7 to 8 seconds. Loading screens are a lot faster on Switch version. Like, battle starts pretty much instantaneously, which actually kind of threw me off because the music used to line up when you start attacking. Like, it would go into like the I'm not a music person, so I can't really describe it, but basically the music would lead right into when you usually would get the first attack off. So like, just getting used to it on Switch kind of threw me off. So
the battle intro would be playing when you got your first attack in instead of sort of the main melody of the battle.
Yeah.
Okay, and have you noticed any differences between playing in handheld mode versus docked mode?
No, it runs pretty much the same.
Okay, yeah, I play Switch probably 90% of the time in handheld mode. But I haven't run into any major technical issues. I don't think I've run into any crashes even, which is impressive because Switch ports are a mixed bag with how they handle load times and crashes. But this seems to be one of the good ones. But let's actually talk about the content of the game a little bit. Now, I mentioned that this is a game centered around the Japanese pop idol industry, or at least the Japanese entertainment industry in general, and that's really what it is. It's a celebration of Japanese entertainment. You even are basically running an agency which has only a few talents, like maybe 6 or 7 people total, but they also seem to be about 80% of the talent that's advertised in the game. So it seems like you have all of the popular idols and actors on your side.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it just makes the world feel a little smaller than they intended to, which is not a major weakness. But you're basically an agency with several aspiring talents, and in Japanese entertainment industry they use the word talent to refer to basically any performer. It could be a model, an actor, a singer, even a voiceover artist. Sort of they put all of those people into a single box called talent, and talent agencies are very powerful in Japan, and it's even like it's major news within that sphere if a talent changes agencies, and so you're a teenager who sort of stumbles into working for a talent agency because you run into a monster that is that sort of attacks a signing an idol performer signing event, and you Itsuki and your friend Tsubasa sort of accidentally join this talent agency when Itsuki's trying to save Tsubasa from monsters, and Itsuki's friend Toma, who works at that agency, sort of runs into them. It's a very, very suddenly formed party. But in this monster dimension you stumble into, which is again a lot like the Dark Hour in Persona, or even a lot like the other worlds in RPGs like Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Or like the other world in other games like Tokyo Xanadu, a different Tokyo RPG where you travel to another world.
Yeah.
There's monsters in this other world that are draining people of their soul, but it's called performa, and performa is sort of like the part of you that inspires your creativity and your creative energy and your desire to perform. So like a singer drained of their performa can't even muster up the energy to sing anymore, and so these monsters, which are called mirages, right? Yeah. Okay. So monsters called mirages are trying to drain creative humans of their performa, and this talent agency, Fortuna, uses humans wielding mirage powers to prevent that from happening. And your friend Toma, who's working as an extra for a tokusatsu TV show, which makes this game already aimed directly at me, and a popular idol singer named Kiria are basically warriors that are using mirages to solve this problem. And Itsuki and Tsubasa very quickly gain their own mirage powers and join Kiria and Toma. So those are your first 4 characters. Itsuki is the main character, Tsubasa, Toma, and Kiria, trying to save the world from being drained of musical and creative energy. And I just oversimplified this a lot because I haven't mentioned Fire Emblem once since the first 5 minutes of us talking. All of the mirages, or at least the huge majority of them, use Fire Emblem style imagery, whatever word you want to use. The mirages wielded by the main characters are famous Fire Emblem heroes. I think 4 of them come from Fire Emblem 1 and 3 of them come from Fire Emblem Awakening, which makes sense based on the timing of this game. Awakening was huge just before this game started development. And you use Fire Emblem skills against enemies that include traditional Fire Emblem units like like archers and axe fighters and myrmidons and things like that. So your main characters wield Fire Emblem heroes, kind of like Personas in a Persona game, and they battle Fire Emblem enemies and use some Fire Emblem ideas like traditional weapon and spell weaknesses. So, Nathan, do you think this game has enough Fire Emblem or not enough Fire Emblem? Because again, I think if you just change the names around a little bit, this doesn't need to be a Fire Emblem game. This could have been a Persona game about the Japanese entertainment industry. Do you think there's enough Fire Emblem?
We'll get to this actually the next episode. You'll see yourself once you get to it.
Okay.
There is more Fire Emblem later on, but for the most part of this game, I like to call this game like 85% SMT Persona, then maybe 15% Fire Emblem. There really isn't a lot, and that was part of the complaint from the Fire Emblem fandom when this came out,
Right.
was that this really doesn't feel like Fire Emblem, and the references they make, again, it's only to Shadow Dragon and Awakening, which is a lot of people wanted more variety.
Yeah, I get that, and I mean, my take was that the Fire Emblem fans wanted more Fire Emblem, and the SMT fans wanted more SMT, and the Persona fans are like, great, maybe I should get a Wii U, and and the community that sprouted out of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think, does like the game. This game has a dedicated fan base, but it didn't. It's not an enormous fan base, but it's like the people that have played this game really like it, and going back to sort of what the game's about, it feels about 80% of the way to a Persona game. The way that you go to each dungeon, and the way that parties are set up and combat is set up, even with a weakness table that looks just like a Persona weakness table, except there's Fire Emblem symbols up there instead of SMT symbols. It feels a lot like a Persona game. A lot of the basics of combat are determining enemy weaknesses and then hammering those and keeping a diverse skill set on your characters so you can attack a variety of weaknesses. But then you have things called sessions, aka the third word in the title of this game, where basically if you have characters that have certain combo skills, you can chain. The biggest chain I've gotten in the game, I think, is 16 hits, but you can chain a bunch of hits in a row if you have enough characters covering the enemy weakness to perform that chain. And it's really satisfying. But also, you're balancing your character's main moves, which are like 6 or 7 slots, and then session moves, which allow them to chain things together, and then radiant skills, which are their own special like passive skills. There is so much tinkering in this game. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, I'm early in chapter 5, and this game has 6 or 6.5 chapters. You told me off air before we recorded, and I am like almost after every fight, I have some skill learning or skill tinkering to do, and it's I think part of the appeal of this game is, even though it's not all the way Fire Emblem or all the way SMT, the RPG we have here is a very tightly designed one that has just a lot going on, both in character customization and in battle. What do you think is one of your favorite things about how this game handles RPG mechanics? Because I'm finding it really satisfying and getting more complex with sort of every new area I visit.
Yeah, so one of the main things for me was, I mentioned this in my review, is the way everything seems to constantly evolve. So, like, as you go through the game, you'll eventually, you learn new skills, and you'll progress. Like, some skills will get more powerful, like you'll get even more powerful session attacks later on. And then it's just that nice build-up of each mechanic too. Like, almost every chapter has a new mechanic that they add in to help you in combat.
Yeah,
It's just the way it keeps going every single time. You guys get something new, and it just never makes the battle system like ever feel boring.
yeah. You start out with two characters, just pretty much Itsuki, then Tsubasa, then Toma joining near the end of the prologue, and then basically every chapter a new character joins. And I'm early in chapter 5, and I think I have the final character now, or at least the character sheet appears full. So every chapter you'll have probably a new character, probably some new skill wrinkle, and then almost every major character side quest unlocks new skills and new abilities. Like now you have there's something called Ad Lib skills, which are basically super attacks that replace a normal attack with a low chance. Then you have I think duo
arts.
Yeah, duo arts, which are sometimes during sessions when you're building up a combo. Two characters can do a special attack together, but and those you also have to unlock those by doing side quests. And then there's also special performances, which are basically super attacks that unlock sometimes sometimes just during the game, sometimes by completing side quests that use a separate stat from the traditional SP that you use to cast most of your spells and skills. There are so many weird layers that keep building and building that make me like tinker in the menu at every other battle practically. And sometimes I can win a fight on the first try by hitting an enemy with its weakness. Then I get 8 hits because my team has a pretty diverse skill set, and then I activate a duo art, and then there's another 8 hits, and then the battle's over. And it was a circus of rainbow chaos that's very, very satisfying to pull off, and you feel mostly in control of it. This basically, I'm rambling a lot, but saying that the combat here gets really elaborate, but is really satisfying. And like you said, you basically unlock new wrinkles and new aspects to combat and customization with every new chapter and new area you visit.
Yeah, that's what's for me. That's the most satisfying thing. It's like I always like love it when games will consistently expand on their combat and make it so that regular encounters are just always enjoyable.
Do you have a favorite either duo art or special performance or ad lib, like a favorite special move? Just because I want to, if in case the audience hasn't played this or isn't far enough along, just so we can describe to someone what this game's like a little bit.
Okay, so I guess one of my favorite duo arts is when it's Give Me, which is what you unlock after doing Kiria's third side quest. So Give Me is a duo art where there's a song in the game called "Give Me," and then Kiria and Tsubasa will perform it together, and then that's also a skill in the game it's a AOE wind attack and also heals your entire party to full health, which is always useful because that's just a great skill to have for free. As for special skills, my favorites are always Mamoru, just because she has some of the best SP skills in the game. She gets full heals, and then she can also move again, which basically means you get a full heal for basically free, except for one or two SP bars, depending on the heal she does.
Yeah, I think one of them heals and then puts you into a guard state and lets you move again, and the other one is less of a heal and doesn't have the guard state, but is 1 SP instead of 2.
Yeah. So for her, she's like almost an essential part of my party later on, because when enemies get tougher, then she can just use her SP skill for a full heal and then be able to do whatever she wants after it too.
And she also learns skills that a couple skills that SMT or Persona fans might recognize, Tetrakarn and Makarakarn, that completely block one physical or one magic attack by the enemy, which is a really good get out of jail free card if you're struggling a little bit. Let's talk about the character specifically a little bit. We have Itsuki, who can never leave your party, and his Mirage is Chrom, the lord from Fire Emblem Awakening, the main character. And Itsuki's a little boring, but still pretty powerful. He uses swords and learns lightning skills, and attack.
He's a typical Fire Emblem lord.
Yeah, he's a typical Fire Emblem lord. but at least he's pretty strong and pretty survivable. He has a couple of really good SP skills. He can give everyone a free turn. The next time they get a turn, they get 2 instead of 1, which is really powerful. But I sort of wish he could use more than just swords, because I don't always want a sword guy on the team.
Yeah, it's a bunch of lance users. You're like, well, I guess ET gets hit. I guess I get sessioned for, 2/3 of his health.
Yeah, exactly. He can get and similar to a lot of SMT games, enemies can use some of the same session skills you can. So if they hit one of your characters for their weakness, then the other enemies might be able to pile on just like you can with the session. So I have had characters wipe out for that exact reason. It's like, there's a bunch of axe users. They attack my one of my lance users, and they just got 3 hits in a row, and now Tsubasa's dead.
Yeah.
And speaking of Tsubasa, she's a Pegasus Knight. She has a lot of some lance skills, some wind skills, some healing skills, and she's pretty good early on, especially when healing is. You don't have a lot of healing items, but now she's probably a permanent bench unit for me, just because I can heal with items, and she does not bring nearly as much offense to the table as the rest of the team.
It's fair. For me, Tsubasa is always just a permanent fixture, just because she has the constant healing, and I always use her. Have a special loop with my characters. So I have Itsuki to do like evade up, or accuracy and evade up, but then I have Tsubasa with offense up, but then I have Mamoru with defense up. So I could just get the nice buff range right away.
Well, that brings us to our third character, the third character that joins, Toma. He is a cavalier or a social knight from Fire Emblem. His Mirage is Kain, the red knight from Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Oh, Tsubasa's is Shida, also from Fire Emblem 1, the Pegasus princess in that game. But Toma has one of his, the very first special skill he learns is. Or no, I'm sorry. The second one he learns is attack up to your whole team and hit evade up to your whole team, and his next hit is a critical hit.
Yeah.
So I use that at the beginning of every boss fight. It's my it's one of my favorite skills in the whole game. Toma has really high defense and attack and critical hit rate, but just terrible res. So he takes enormous magic damage, and that's his big weakness. But he's him and Mamori are probably my two favorite characters to use. I try to use every character semi equally. For reasons we'll get into soon, but I really like Toma. And also, again, we mentioned that this game's about the Japanese entertainment industry, and you're sort of following talents in your talent agency through their careers. Tsubasa is an aspiring singer, and she's a bit of a fangirl. She's sort of a clumsy, cute stereotype, but she is a talented singer. And Toma loves Japanese hero shows, and there's a specific kind of Japanese hero show called tokusatsu, which I've mentioned on this podcast before, which is sort of live-action special effects shows like Power Rangers or Kamen Rider. And there's a parody. There's a show in this game called Masquerader, which is clearly a pastiche of Kamen Rider. And Toma's dream is to become the next Masquerader, and his side quests are about inspiring a kid with these hero shows and trying to attend auditions to be the next Masquerader. So of course he's my favorite character. Of course he is.
Yeah. As soon as I saw, like, you started playing the game, I knew Toma was going to be your favorite.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And I like, and Toma he's a little bit like Ryuji from Persona 5 or Yosuke from Persona 4 or Junpei from Persona 3. He's the bro. Yeah, he's the male best friend character. But he's a very, very good one of those. And of course I'm rooting for the Kamen Rider hero wannabe. Of course I am. And if I have a single predilection in Fire Emblem games, it's to use too much cavalry. I use Pegasus Knights, Dragon Knights, and Paladins all the time in those games, because I really value a high movement speed. I'm sorry, a high movement number in Fire Emblem. I hate being dragged down by infantry.
Yeah.
So I was overjoyed to love the Cavalier in this game, and somewhat less overjoyed to not love the Pegasus Knight in this game, because I just don't think Tsubasa is as useful as the rest of the team in the second half of the game. But let's talk about Kyria, the third character that we mentioned. She's not with you for the first chapter, but she joins in between chapter 1 and 2, if memory serves. And yes. she's your mage. She uses Tharia from Fire Emblem Awakening, who is a very, very unusual personality magic user in that game. Tharia's she's very sexy, so there's a lot of saucy Tharia statuettes out there. But she also has like a weird obsession with Chrom, the main character in Awakening, and as such, Tharia has a weird obsession with Kyria, her human partner in this game, and it's a little disturbing and very amusing how Tharia seems
they have fun interactions, because unlike Chrom, like Kyria is kind of a little bit like, she doesn't really take her crap, or I guess I would say Tharja, but because the Japanese pronunciation is Tharia. But
I truly was not sure how to pronounce it when I played Fire Emblem Awakening, but this game only has a Japanese voice track, and they're saying Tharia all the time. So I'm like, all right, decision made. Tharia it is.
Yeah. So it's funny just the way those two interact. It's great.
Yeah, I think Chrom, Sheeta, and Kane have maybe slightly more boring personalities. If anything, Kane is sort of a little bit more responsible than Toma is, and teaching him to tone it down. But Tharia is just a complete maniac, and Kyria, who's she's sort of a cool girl persona, like a little bit aloof, and her side quest is her trying to embrace her cute side a little bit. Like she reveals secretly she loves mascots and plushes and stuff, but tries to tone that part of her personality down because she's supposed to be the cool girl when she sings. But then, she allows that side of her to come out more, and it culminates with this this "Give Me" song that she sings with Tsubasa after her third side quest. And we should mention this. There are a lot of anime music videos and a lot of pop idol songs in this game. And a lot of the time, completing a side quest or even completing a story mission results in unlocking a new music video.
Yeah.
And recently, not really for the podcast, but for myself, and then later we podcasted about it, I played AI, the Somnium Files. And there's a pop song in that game, and they play it, I don't know, a dozen times. And it's not even the best Japanese pop song. I got sick of it by the end. That's not the case here. In Tokyo Mirage Sessions has a lot of pop music, but a lot of it's well produced. You can tell that they put their effort into making the music at least pretty good in this game.
Yeah, it's I guess one thing I should mention is that since they tagged well, Avex Group produced it, which is like a really big music label in Japan. And then they brought on the composer for Love Live, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, music anime series in Japan.
There's a lot of Love Live in this game. I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah, so his influence is like pretty clear in this game. Like he has like so much experience working with idol music, so it's pretty clear that Nintendo picked the right person, or Avex, I guess, picked the right person.
It certainly fits their vision. I don't know a lot about Love Live. I don't really even know much of the difference between Love Live and what are some of these other shows?
Idolmaster.
Yeah, Idolmaster, or did Morning Musume have their own anime? I thought they did.
Morning Musume.
I think it's an idol group that had a short anime or something, but it's a whole subgenre in Japan, and it's basically not to sound too cynical, but sort of music idol TV shows are very popular. Love Live probably is the most popular one, and they're really about teenage girls who want to be singers, and they all have specific personalities, and they're all working as hard as they can. They really value effort when they communicate in these shows. It's the kind of show I don't love. I've been made to watch episodes of Love Live from my friends in the old anime club from college, but it's not a genre I really enjoy. And to be honest, when I completed the side quest in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I was much more excited to learn a new duo art or new special performance, or especially get a master seal, and much less excited by having a new music video, because Japanese pop isn't something I'm crazy about, and this game really celebrates that side of the culture. Especially, I think there is a crossover between fans that love anime and fans that love these kind of RPGs and fans of Japanese pop idols, and they're really aiming for that center of that Venn diagram. And I'm in part of that Venn diagram, but I'm not right in the center. So I sometimes rolled my eyes a little bit about the I'm working so hard to achieve my dream of being a musician side of this game, because that's a lot of the personal journey in this game, is people trying to fulfill their dreams, and their dream being a specific thing in the Japanese entertainment industry. But again, I'm someone who loves Atlus RPGs and likes a lot of Fire Emblem games, and thinks this is a really well designed, like the RPG parts of this game are really satisfying, and that's what I'm getting the most fun out of.
Fair enough. Because for me, like, I'm not like super into like idol music myself, but I always enjoyed like J-pop, and just getting to know like a lot of the talent behind like Japanese stuff in general. So that's where this game gets me as well.
And again, this is about the Japanese entertainment industry, not only J-pop. The next character that joins after Kiria is Eleonora, who does some singing, but she primarily views herself as an actress, and she's really eager to grow as an actress. She gives acting lessons to Tsubasa and Mamori to a degree. But that's sort of part of a weird thing in the Japanese talent industry. They really want their talents to be triple threats, like to be singers, dancers, and actors. Yeah. And that's, of course, some talents are much better at one of those things than the other. And not everyone can be a perfect triple threat. But like this game sort of communicates everyone is trying to be a singer, dancer, and actor. And Eleonora's story is her determined to make it to Hollywood, and she's also half Swedish, I think. So she's blonde and has light colored eyes, which makes her seem exotic to the Japanese public within Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and she sort of doesn't want to be typecast that way. So that's part of what her journey is. A little bit like Lisa Silverman in Persona 2. Oh, damn it. I promised I wouldn't talk about Persona as much in this episode. I'm completely failing at that. Maybe I should embrace it instead of give up on it. But Eleonora is a bow user. She's a typical Fire Emblem archer. Her Mirage is Virion, the dandy archer from Fire Emblem Awakening. And her relationship with Virion is kind of hilarious because Virion is an exaggerated dandy character who is sort of exaggerated nobility, and he views his role as teaching Eleonora how to be a lady, which Eleonora mostly rejects. But they have a very fun vibe. It's a lot less serious and less boring than Crom or Sheeta.
Yeah.
But I don't use Eleonora a lot. She has really high speed and she can do a lot of good status effect attacks. But I want Kyria's magic power or Toma's physical power ahead of, poisoning a lot with Eleonora or something. But she's not bad. She's perfectly capable in battle.
Eleanor is like she's pretty much a support character, and that's one of the issues I have is because you only have 3 slots for characters, you kind of have to pick your best all the time. So it's kind of unfortunate that I relegate Eleanor to the bench for after the chapter she's introduced in, because she's actually really useful for that chapter.
Yeah,
but no. That, I don't bother.
That's definitely a trend in this game. Like once a character joins, a lot of monsters in the next dungeon will be vulnerable to what that character brings. So there's a lot of enemies weak against bow attacks in the dungeon right after Eleonora joins.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate because Toma actually doesn't get that.
Yeah, Toma doesn't get that a little bit, but Toma can use spear attacks, and I think he also has fire and wind, which are present at least the whole game. And he just deals a lot of damage, and getting big damage and big critical hits are always at least pretty good in this game.
Yeah, that's what valuable Toma is the ability to get crits, because he has such high skill. He's probably the highest skill unit in the game besides Eleonora, so
yeah,
the ability to get crits is like really, really high.
And speaking of him having the highest in something, Toma is one of 2 really high defense units in this game. The other one is Mamori, who we've mentioned a couple times. Mamori is a girl who's I think only 12 or 13 years old.
I think she's 11, actually.
Oh, 11? Oh, she's even younger than I thought. But she's a sort of a preteen idol that hosts a kids television show, which is something that happens in the Japanese TV industry. And her show is called Microwaving with Mamorin, which is basically teaching kids how to use a microwave, which is, honestly not the most insane idea for a television show I've ever heard. That's the kind of thing that might appear on Japanese television.
Probably, yeah. I can see it happening.
Yeah, it's not crazy, but it's sort of a nice... in a nice bit of a clash dichotomy. Mamori is your huge armored defensive unit. Her Mirage is Draugr, who was a big knight, armor knight or general character in Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So she's again an 11-year-old girl who wields an axe bigger than she is and is your highest defense, highest HP unit.
It also serves as your team's tank, because one of her passive skills is to take attacks for her teammates.
Yeah. She can cover attacks for teammates. She can attract more enemy attacks to her. She can use skills that block the next enemy attack. She's super defensive, but she's also your only source of axe attacks, and it's just pretty solid in general offensively.
Yeah. Actually, one of a little bit of trivia. So her name Mamori is like the Japanese verb mamoru is to protect. So I like how that kind of works out.
Oh, that is cute. But she's sort of a very cute character. She I think she sings enka songs and wears kimonos. So that's another another phase of the Japanese entertainment industry that would makes less sense if they tried to make this game. Oh no, this game's totally set in Los Angeles. It's L.A. Mirage Sessions. Like no, it's not. This is a Japanese ass RPG. But yeah, so she sings enka songs, she wears kimonos, she hosts a children's cooking show, and she summons a giant armored knight into battle, and is I think that she's probably my favorite character to keep around other than Toma, because like Toma is big heavy armored offense and Mamori is big heavy armored defense, and combined they're a really really good physical team that gets absolutely sliced apart by magic. So so maybe not the best team design on my part, but that's my favorite to use: Itsuki, Toma, Mamori, and they really make her designs cute too. Like a lot of the axes she used might have, I think her starting axe has a little teddy bear design on the blade, and one that I unlocked recently has like an elephant trunk design, and these aren't like scary, like Rajput warrior elephant designs. These are like cute elephant trunks with cartoon anime eyes.
Yeah, and so a couple of them have just a little smiley face on them.
Yeah. So it's definitely a vibe they're going for. Again, this game is one of the most anime RPGs I've ever played, if not the most anime. And a seventh character joins between chapter 4 and 5, but we'll save him for the second part of the podcast. Let's talk about the main story a little bit. In the prologue in chapter 1, you are investigating this other world, which is called the Idolosphere, which have gates that open scattered around Tokyo. And in the first two dungeons, you learn that there was a big scary event 5 years ago where an entire theater of people just completely vanished, except for a few survivors. And one of the survivors was Tsubasa. And it turns out that Tsubasa was there at the theater to watch her sister sing in a concert. And in the chapter 1 dungeon, Tsubasa sees her sister again for the first time in 5 years. It turns out everyone that vanished in that event was dragged into the Idolosphere and had their performance stolen. So rescuing Tsubasa's sister is the thrust of chapter 1. And at the end, Tsubasa's sister makes the interesting decision of, instead of trying to return to an idol career, she decides to be a secretary at the talent agency where you are and just encourage her sister to be an idol, because deep down all along, Tsubasa's sister believed that Tsubasa was the one that had the shining ray of talent in her. But as an introduction to the game, this dungeon's pretty crazy. It's very vertical. You have to jump up and down maid dresses, as an MAID, like maiden dresses, and have them adjust and jump from one sleeve to the opposite sleeve and adjust where they're pointing to go to different floors. I got confused a couple times in this dungeon just because there's so many dresses and so many adjustments to make. I got lost a couple times. And again, this game has maybe 7 or 8 major dungeons total, but they're not cakewalks. These are pretty elaborate multi-hour dungeons. How did you feel about how they executed the dungeons in this game?
I've personally enjoyed the dungeons. I didn't mind having to solve puzzles and go around and try to figure this out. I think some of the dungeons later on get a little bit more elaborate too.
I mean, I don't mind solving puzzles either, but I just thought the verticality of the first one bugged me a little bit. I thought that the dungeons on chapter 3 and 4 were easier to deal with personally.
I think it is one of the more difficult dungeons to figure out its puzzle, especially you actually revisit it in chapter 5 later.
Right. Yeah. Chapter 5 has you revisit multiple locations. I'm sort of in the early stages of doing that, where I am in the game now.
Yeah, but later on you have to do it again, and but for the most part, I'm fine with the dungeon design. Doing puzzles was never an issue. So. I know that's what some people have issues with. That some people don't like the dungeon design and just get frustrated with that. But I personally never found it. I didn't have an issue.
I think it's all right. Again, I think some of the puzzles are a little obtuse. The first one being very vertical and hard and not easy to tell where it's easy to get turned around in that one. In the second dungeon, all the floors look a little bit the same to me. There's you can get hit by. If you walk in the path of a camera, it'll teleport you to the beginning, so you're sort of avoiding cameras in that dungeon. But there's a lot of teleportation. In the third dungeon, you're on a TV set, as in a set design, not a television, not like a television screen, and which looks like Edo era Japan, and you're sort of going between over bamboo bit bridges and old style houses, trying to pass light from torch to torch, and that one I thought was a little bit easier than the first two dungeons, at least design wise. But it is nice having nice medium to large size dungeons that have puzzle mechanics in them, because in Persona 4, say, those dungeons were just empty corridors, and games I've played recently like Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, and I'm just trying to think of games from the 2010s that might be contemporaries with this, and let's say East 8, those dungeons are basically just paths with sometimes a path leads to a treasure chest. And I know that's because games are getting more expensive to make, and making elaborate dungeons with heavy puzzles is more challenging than it was in the PS1, PS2 era. But it is nice seeing dungeons with a real puzzle mechanic in them. And I like the dungeons in this game. I just thought it was a bad first impression, because I think the first dungeon is the worst one.
Yeah, fair enough. I can agree with that.
But moving along in the story, I mentioned that the second dungeon had a photography theme. It's because that the evil Mirage that's sort of floating over that dungeon possesses a photographer who kidnaps some of the models that he photographs, and he almost kidnaps Tsubasa because she was scheduled to do a modeling shoot with him, but Itsuki steps in at the last minute, and Tsubasa's not captured, but the Fortuna talent agency boss, Maiko, is. Maiko is a former model and is sort of the team mom of the whole group. And she becomes the person you have to rescue from the second dungeon of the game. She had a former relationship with the photographer, maybe romantic, maybe just professional, but she was like the subject of his best photo album ever or something. And so his obsession with Maiko leads to him kidnapping her, and you trying to rescue Maiko and the other models from this dungeon. This is the first dungeon that you have the first four characters all together, because Kyria joins between dungeon 1 and 2. So you get all of her magic spells. A lot of enemies weak against ice in this dungeon. And again, I think the floors look a little bit too similar in this one, so I got turned around a lot. But it's overall, it wasn't that difficult to deal with. And again, I think they like hit a different agency of a different aspect of the Japanese entertainment industry with each dungeon, and so this one is the photographer dungeon.
That's the modeling dungeon, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the dungeon, Tsubasa's career grows a little bit, and there's a big photo shoot with Tsubasa, Maiko, who's in her late 20s, I think, and Eleonora. That's right where Eleonora joins the modeling group, and that's your first introduction to her. That's sort of how every arc in this game goes. You encounter some darkness in the idolosphere. There's someone in the entertainment industry that gets possessed by a mirage. You have to save them from the mirage, inspire someone's creativity, and the end result of it is your whole team gets a little bit more famous, and Tsubasa, especially being the up-and-coming idol of your group, sort of gets a new gig or something. The third dungeon is a stage performance, and the idolosphere dungeon there is that sort of traditional Japanese backdrop. But the person that you're rescuing from there isn't anyone we've mentioned yet. This is Barry's dungeon.
Yeah.
And Barry is your trainer. He is a former musician who is he's unusual. His name's Barry Goodman. He's an American. Or at least a North American. Did they mention where he's from specifically?
I think you mentioned I'm pretty sure he's American, like U.S.
Okay, so he was a guitar player from the United States, and who loves Japan. And when he moved to Japan, he goes whole hog into the idol industry. So he's your voice trainer and your athletic trainer. And you get a training session, I think once per chapter, or maybe between each chapter, with Barry as sort of an ender.
Yeah.
But and also Barry, he loves a couple anime. There's a witch anime he talks about a lot in the game.
It's a magical girl anime. I feel like that's saying something about how older people end up like really liking magical girl shows, even though they're mostly meant for younger girls.
Yeah, magical girl shows, especially the popular one that's going on now or has been for a while, is called Precure. Shows like Precure are aimed at elementary school girls, but they have an unusual number of adult fans. Yeah. Both men and women, and so Barry is exactly representing that kind of fan. Anyway, Barry loves Mamori. He thinks she's adorable and thinks that she has a bright future, in a way that's sometimes not creepy and sometimes a little creepy.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
No, just a little bit.
and so yeah, exactly. So Mamori was at this TV set about to perform an enka song, and you meet Mamori during chapter 2, but she doesn't join until the end of chapter 3. Mm. And Barry, when the Mirage comes to try to possess Mamori, Barry sort of shoves her out of the way and becomes possessed instead. So the third dungeon is rescuing Barry, and in this case, it's revealed that both Maiko and Barry were Mirage Masters, just like your team is, several years ago, and were working to try and stop what was to try and resolve the tragedy from 5 years earlier when that whole theater full of people vanished. And it's unclear what kind of fighter Maiko was. When she does session attacks, she wields dual daggers, like she's maybe a thief, or I think.
I think the original concept for Maiko, because she was originally supposed to be a playable character, in
Okay.
concept. She was supposed to be a dancer, so I'm guessing her Mirage was going to be Olivia from Awakening.
That
That's what a lot
makes
of people are
sense. Yeah,
thinking.
She like when she steps in battle, very occasionally she has a dagger. So I thought she might have been a ninja or a thief.
Hmm.
But you never see what her Mirage is in this game. But in Barry's you do. Barry was an axe fighter, and
Yeah.
or maybe a knight, and his partner was Draugr, and Draugr is the final boss of Chapter 3. You have to sort of free Barry from Draugr's control because Draugr's gone to the dark side, and after you defeat Draugr. Draugr comes to his senses and agrees to be Malmori's new partner instead of returning to Barry. And Draugr's sort of funny. Like he's a little bit self-serious, a little stoic. But when Malmori does something like cutesy, he sort of responds in a cutesy manner as well. So they're an amusing dynamic. I like Draugr.
Yeah, I like him.
But Barry has and Maiko also have their own set of side quests. Like they are major supporting characters, and you can do quests where they give you direction and even provide skills to your team. Like if you do the first couple Maiko side quests, I haven't done her last one yet, but one of them increases your inventory size, and another one I think gives you discounts at stores.
I think it's discounts to stores, or it increases the amount you can sell, or the amount of money you get.
That's what it is, yeah. And I think one of Barry's gives you gets you more money from more bonus money from doing session attacks. So like even though Maiko and Barry aren't playable characters in your party, they sometimes join in for support attacks, and they give you support skills if you level up their side quests. And the one character we haven't really mentioned yet, Tiki, is she's a Manakete. Or a Momkute, whatever translation you prefer.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, basically a dragon girl, and she is the person that sort of is in the Bloom Palace, which is like the shiny, positive idolosphere that you can jump into. Tiki is able to give your characters new skills and new weapons when they from items collected from enemies, and also from leveling up their own performance abilities, again, which are called performa. And she also can join in the special attacks and has her own set of side quests. Tiki is what's the word I keep forgetting? What's a Hatsune Miku?
Vocaloid.
A Vocaloid, that's right.
Yeah.
Tiki is a Vocaloid, which is basically an idle program that you can program songs into, basically like a composer using something like a tracker. And Vocaloids are their own bag of tricks in the Japanese entertainment industry. There's popular Vocaloid performers. Again, Hatsune Miku is the most well-known Vocaloid, I think, and there's a lot of well-known composers of Hatsune Miku songs. It's its own whole subgenre, and subculture that I barely understand. But anyway,
I don't understand much either. But yeah, that's like this huge thing with Vocaloids. Like I remember, like in the mid 2000s, there's like a whole lot of artists who are willing to like do Vocaloid stuff.
And I hate to bring it back to Persona, but in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, you could download a couple of Hatsune Miku songs. And she's even playable in the Hatsune Miku character is playable in one of the DLC songs in Persona 4 Dancing. So Vocaloids are a thing. Tiki's a Vocaloid, and she's also a well-known Fire Emblem character. Tiki is a dragon girl that's appeared in multiple Fire Emblem games. I think she's in Shadow Dragon and Awakening. And maybe others, but she's the one that upgrades your weapons and gives you new skills. And I don't understand this exactly, but weapons are called carnages in this game for no reason that I can tell. It's like why do they call them carnage? If anything, that makes me think of the Spider-Man villain, and gives the whole thing of an undertone of violence that I'm not sure it wants. But they use the word carnage to upgrade your weapons, and getting new weapons and leveling up your weapons give you new skills, and if once you've mastered a weapon, you can level it up again to teach you a fifth skill. This is where you keep your character balance of 6 or 7 main skills, 6 or 7 session skills, another 6 or 7 passive skills, and then you have an unlimited number of radiant unities, which are passive skills, and special performances. We've mentioned all this. There's like 8 kinds of skill in this game, and you can and you can mix and match and add and subtract almost every kind. So there's So many, and there's also class changes. You're around the midpoint of the game. I've gotten a couple of them already. You get items called Master Seals, where you can class change just like in a Fire Emblem game. And I don't think there's any penalty for class changing early. It basically just is a increase in stats, and also unlocks a new special performance and 3 new carnages per character per class. So when you get your first Master Seal, let's say you want to level up Itsuki. Chrome is a Lord class, and you can level it up to either Conqueror or Great Lord. Conqueror has better physical skills. Great Lord has better magic skills. But both of them give you a new special move and 3 carnages to unlock, and each carnage teaches 4 skills. So again, there's just so much tinkering in this game. Carnages, 6 kinds of skills. Like if you just go to your character skill page, you have to scroll down 2 full pages to see the list of all of them. Yeah. There's so much tinkering in this game that one of maybe the most exciting part of this game for me is not a specific boss battle, but after I do a boss battle and I unlock the next story area, then fighting a couple random battles in the next story area, and then unlocking like 5 carnages in a row because I'm fighting new enemies and getting new items to get more carnages. Like I love that. It's like, oh man, I can do so much more tinkering now. But now I need more 5-star. I need more 5-star items to level these up. It's like for someone that likes watching meters rise and level up dings happen like I do. This game is narcotic in that way. It's a really satisfying level loop, and that I enjoy very much. And I've been rambling this whole episode, but the core, I think the core of what I want to say here in Tokyo Mirage Sessions is this is a really satisfying RPG with a lot of cool design ideas, but it's not really SMT or Fire Emblem, and there's so much anime nonsense in it that it's nearing my breaking point for anime nonsense. Like everyone has a different anime tolerance level. Yours is probably a little higher than mine.
Yeah, mine's is really high. Like the amount of anime I can take is probably like almost unlimited.
I believe you. You are in the 99th percentile of anime tolerance, and I'm somewhat below that. And but I'm not. It's not a deal breaker for me. Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a really well designed RPG with a lot of really fun stuff in it. The character designs are. I mean, again, they're all a little bit anime tropey, and they all are about a specific anime thing, but they're fun. I like. There's a lot of texting in this game. You have a program called Topic, which is a lot like the Japanese program Line, where your characters are always texting back and forth, and the texting is adorable. You get a lot of personality out of these characters because there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of texting. Tsubasa's really cute. Toma's a total bro. Kiria is sort of serious, but you see the serious. You see some cracks in her serious facade. These are a really appealing, entertaining group of characters, but it's just all so anime that if you don't have a lot of anime tolerance, maybe that's where I wouldn't recommend this game. Like if you hate anime idol nonsense, then this is not the game for you. But for a lot of our listeners, and if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably already played this. This game hits a lot of very positive notes. And again, I think that the loop of leveling and dungeons and character building is really, really strong.
Yeah. Like, I always tell people, like, whenever they ask me, I'm like, even though it's, like, you may get the impression, oh, maybe it's too anime for me or whatever, like, the base RPG itself is still very, very solid, and, like, it could definitely still, like, play some of the really top RPGs out there, and I think you can still make an argument that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is still, like, compared to them, still really, really good.
2 of the biggest RPG series in our circle are Persona and Trails, and both of those are turn-based RPGs with sort of anime-centric designs and a lot of good dialogue. So I think Tokyo Mirage Sessions is like one of those, like a Trails of Cold Steel or a Persona 4, but very, very focused on Japanese entertainment and anime music stuff. But again, only getting 80% of the way there. Like, this is 80% of a good Persona game that goes in some goofy directions with this entertainment industry stuff. And if that sounds interesting, like if you like Trails or Persona, or maybe Tales, another very anime-heavy series, then this might be up your alley, but you just need to be aware of this high level of anime nonsense present. Because even though it's not a turnoff for either of us, Nathan, it might be a turnoff for some. So that's the one caveat I have. If you don't like anime BS, then sorry, this game's full of anime BS.
Yeah, the same is definitely like, yeah, like as you mentioned earlier, definitely one of the most anime RPGs that I've ever played, and I play a lot of them.
I play a lot of them too. Like shoot, I've played about half of the Fire Emblem, half of the Tales games. I've really really enjoyed Persona, especially the past 11, 12 years, and I think this game fits comfortably next to a lot of those. But it just it's coming from a really specific place, and if anything, I play these side quests for the dialogue and for the new skills they teach you, and definitely not for the anime music videos they unlock. But we have a lot to talk about in the second part of this episode. There is a seventh character we haven't mentioned yet, and a couple villain characters that are worth discussing. But we can save that for part two. Also, we have there's 3 more dungeons and probably more story stuff I haven't reached yet in part two. But I think we should save that for next week. But again, I think I'm around the 75% mark. I'm early in chapter 5, and I'm really enjoying myself. I'm gonna have no problem at all getting to the end of this game, and you would know better than I have if you've played this game several times. There is a new game plus feature, right?
Yeah, so New Game Plus, well, one of the main things it does was it introduces new enemies. So in every dungeon, there'll be like, they call it like a dojo master. Then it's basically a high level enemy, and obviously you won't be able to beat it right away because like when you do New Game Plus, you still back to level 1.
Oh,
So there's that, and in New Game Plus for this version specifically, the Switch version, you can take Itsuki out of your party in New Game Plus.
oh, good. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah. What else is there in New Game Plus?
We can talk about that in part two because
True. Yeah.
there's still a lot to talk about. We've talked barely about the setting. This game takes place in Tokyo with some real life Tokyo locations in it. The map gets a little bit messy, but we'll have a lot to talk about in chapter 2. But for now, I think we're gonna shut it off. But right now, my early impression is very positive, and I'm glad that this got a Switch port because I had really no interest in getting a Wii U, and this was on my list of Wii U games I was hoping would get ported to Switch, and I got my wish in January a few months ago, and I've had a lot of fun with it so far. But let's look to next week a little bit, Nathan. We're doing another Tokyo Mirage Sessions episode next week to close out our episodes for the month of March. And in April, we're going to have 2 episodes on Soul Blazer, actually going retro for once. Soul Blazer is a Super Nintendo RPG from Quintet. Soul Blazer had 2 sequels, Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma. I've played the sequels, but I've never played Soul Blazer. So we even did an episode on Quintet RPGs a few years ago. So I'm not sure if I'll be on those episodes or not, because I kind of could use a break from podcasting, especially since that month is gonna Final Fantasy VII remake and Trials of Mana remake come out, and those are 2 games I'm interested in.
Oh, and then Persona 5 Royals at the end of the month.
That's right. Yeah, Persona 5 Royal is at the end of March, and we're recording this in early March, listeners. So there are a lot of fascinating remakes to play in March, April. To say nothing of a lot of people probably playing Animal Crossing in March. Or Doom, Animal Crossing and Doom, the 2 sides of the same coin, releasing on the same day. I'm not really in either of those circles, but it has been very fun to watch those 2 communities, fist bump a little bit online. It's very nice. But so yeah, and also in April we're doing a special episode on mental health and wellness. That is a passionate topic for several people on staff, and so that's going to be a really interesting conversation. It has not recorded yet, but you will see mental health in early April, and then 2 episodes on Soul Blazer in late April. But listeners, if you want to reach out to us directly, the best way to do so is to email retro@rpgfan.com. You can also visit our message boards, visit the Facebook page, visit Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Twitch, something streaming new on Twitch every day, all of them under the label RPG Fan and linked from rpgfan.com. And RPG Fan has 4 podcasts, not just Retro Encounter. We also have Random Encounter, hosted by Greg Delmage and about randomness, Rhythm Encounter, hosted by Blank and about RPG music, but it hasn't had a new episode in a while, and Phoenix Edge, hosted by Hat, which is a weekly podcast that mostly focuses on current events and is streamed live on YouTube every week. So please review all of us, Retro Encounter, Random Encounter, Rhythm Encounter, and Phoenix Edge on iTunes or Google Play or however you are listening to us. Please give us all of the feedback and constructive criticism you are willing to provide. So Nathan, if a listener wants to reach out to you directly, what's the best way for them to do so?
If you want to reach me on social media, I'm on Twitter at SmashGang27, and I'm also on our Discord. If you join us on our Discord server, I'm SmashGang on there.
All right, and listeners, if you want to reach out to me, I am at The Real Monsoon on Twitter most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs on Twitter other times, and Monsoon Mike on RPG Fans Discord. So, Nathan, I have some more Tokyo Mirage Sessions to play, so I am going to log out of here, log into the Idolosphere, and then hit Myrmidons with a lance until I can shake them down for yen. Because there's a lot of yen shakedowns in this game. Like, you just hit enemies.
A lot of beatdowns.
Yeah, you hit enemies and they just explode into coins like they're Goombas or something. Thank you. Good night. And good luck. 砕け散る限界を超えて覚醒する世界は俺を照らす忘れられない冷たい記憶に火を灯し走り続けた暗闇の先に何があろうとも従うさため包み込む光が